some people think that it's just a matter of you're forgetting, but what you need to be aware of is that your brain is actually abnormally shrinking. There is memory loss that can naturally occur as we age. It's called benign forgetfulness. But Alzheimer's is actually your brain is abnormally shrinking. So what to be aware of is you have two areas in your brain where memory is stored. Your short-term memory will go first with Alzheimer's, and then later on, your long-term memory will go. And it's typical for somebody to ask somebody, tell me today's date. And they'll say, hey doc, I don't know today's date, but let me tell you about January 5th, 1965. Many people go, oh, their memory's fantastic, when in fact their memory's not doing very well because they don't know what today's date is. They have no idea. Their short-term memory's gone, but they're relying then on their long-term memory. This is typically what you see with Alzheimer's. People start they'll remember long-term things, but they'll start forgetting things like where I put my keys. Now that can be benign forgetfulness. It doesn't necessarily mean you have Alzheimer's, but that's how it starts, but it progresses. For family members to be aware of is there's 3 phases of memory loss. The first one's mild cognitive impairment, and next it's moderate neurocognitive disorder, and then severe neurocognitive disorder. Those used to be called Alzheimer's. Mild cognitive impairment is mild. You forget some basic things. It does not always progress to dementia or neurocognitive impairment. That's the first thing to be aware of. I took a test and it shows I have mild cognitive impairment. Am I going to get Alzheimer's? We don't know. Some people do. Some studies I've read have said up to 90% of people will get Alzheimer's. I read another one that said 50% of people get Alzheimer's. So I always hold out hope. So first thing is, you're losing your memory. Is that necessarily Alzheimer's? No, it can be benign cognitive impairment and you stay there and you don't progress. What to be aware of is if it does progress to Alzheimer's, that you will slowly start forgetting things. Loved ones will start covering up. You'll start asking them questions and they'll change the subject because they don't know the answer even though you feel like they should. Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. It is 70 to 80% of the dementia are Alzheimer's. After that, it comes vascular dementia, and then you have your Parkinson's dementia and dementia with Lewy bodies, which are both part of the Lewy body dementia categories. But most people are going to have Alzheimer's. Now, the little bit of the caveat there is when you have vascular dementia, that's almost always accompanied with Alzheimer's. And vascular dementia is going to be people who have had strokes or people who smoke or have diabetes. It tends to destroy blood vessels in your brain, and that does function differently than Alzheimer's. Early intervention is best. One of the warning signs is get somebody checked out. We do a test called the SLUMS, St. Louis University Mental Status Examination. The reason we use that one is it's free. It was done by St. Louis University and the VA. And that is a test we do on people that will show, in general, where you're at cognitively. But we also do other tests. So we check for reversible forms of dementia, or things that can mimic dementia. Which could be such as a low vitamin D level could mimic it. A thyroid dysfunction could mimic it. The other thing that can very much help is getting either a CT scan, an MRI, or a PET scan of the brain. That shows what's going on with your brain. So in Alzheimer's, we typically will do a CT scan. It's going to show abnormal shrinkage. In vascular dementia, it's going to show what they call chronic small vessel ischemic disease, meaning your blood vessels are ischemic, they're dying. It will also show areas of infarct. So if somebody's had a stroke, you can develop vascular dementia. So areas you had like a thrombosis in that part of the brain can die. And your Lewy body dementias, those they have the Parkinson's symptoms. So on the brain, a brain scan, they don't show any abnormalities, but the people will have Parkinson's symptoms. Those are the 3 most common types of dementia. So for me, if somebody is suspected of dementia, I'm going to do the SLUMS and then try to get that CT scan and then check those labs. So what you look for you're asking simple, short-term questions. Mom, what do we have for breakfast today? And she can't tell you. You're looking for people who are forgetting short-term things, typically with Alzheimer's, because that's what we talked about. The short-term memory is going to go first. People are forgetting things that you think they should remember. And again, they're going to tell you what you want to hear. That's natural. So it's going to be like, well, I don't know where my keys are, but then somebody changes the subject and starts talking about something like, oh, they're fine. You need to get testing done. The first thing for me is doing that SLUMS or other tests out there called the MOCA, Montreal Cognitive Assessment, and a Mini Mental Status Exam, the MMSE. Those tests are critically important because they are going to give us a gauge of where somebody is.